So Christine was asking Janelle as well, do you feel like I'm messing with your covenants?
Like your covenants are invalid now.
Yeah, are not valid anymore now that I'm not a part of this marriage. If I'm taking out a piece of the covenant, does the rest of it stay intact, or did I just like blow up everybody's marriages?
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I grew up in the FLDS community. It is a polygamist group run by Warren Jeffs, and I moved out when I was 18 years old.
I was raised LDS. Sam and I have been married for 9 years and have 2 awesome kiddos.
Yes, we do. If you're interested in just listening in today, we do have our podcast available. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we are starting a holiday fundraiser for the Short Creek Dream Center, which is located in Short Creek, where I was born and raised. We are trying to raise funds to redo a room for them, for someone that is in need of that room.
Yes, and we're really excited for it to be coming from us and our YouTube community. You guys are all so amazing and so supportive of these people in this polygamous community. And so we will get to have a dedicated room. There'll be a little plaque saying that it's from all of our YouTube family. So we are excited to do that for them.
Yes, so go ahead. If you are interested in donating, please click the link below and donate there.
Yes. Also, we are back with some more Fresh Eyes on Sister Wives. And it is season 18, episode 13 and 14.
Yes.
And
wow.
Woo!
We have a lot to talk about in this one. We try to focus primarily on the religious aspects of this, not really get into the nitty-gritty of the crazy things that Robyn is doing and and Cody. And anyway, we're trying to focus more on the religious aspects and compare it to kind of the way I was raised in polygamy as well, and just compare and contrast the different reasons for why maybe they do some of the things they do.
Yes, and these 2 episodes in particular have a lot about the religious reasons for staying in marriage, leaving marriage, how all that works. We've mentioned that before, like leading up to this, and it's really interesting. There were quite a few nuggets of gold that I was like, oh my gosh, we got to talk about this, in some of the religious aspects of their plural marriage, what that means for them in the eternities, what's it mean for their other marriages, lots of good stuff.
Right.
So,
yeah, these 2 episodes, to me anyway, gave a lot of insight on kind of why it all led up to where they're at today, in the family dynamic and all of the issues they're having. So it was a very good recap of some of the things that happened before this season even started.
Yeah, and man, I feel like there's such long gaps in between things too.
Oh yeah.
So McKelty's gender reveal, like just the last episode was her finding out she was pregnant. Now we're in gender reveal. People are logging on. Meri's not logging on. You know, obviously there's stuff going on there, and it just reminds you that the cameras are showing such a small portion of these people's lives, right? Like, we're seeing things. Mary's talking, she's like, oh yeah, I haven't seen, or sorry, it was Janelle, I haven't like had Cody over in 10 months, or
right.
You know, like when they're talking these long periods of time, you're just like, oh my gosh, okay, there's so much that we don't see.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I wonder if the person behind the camera was hoping to catch something super dramatic or something super crazy on that video chat where McKelty revealed the gender of her babies. And honestly, it seemed like a typical family get-together on a video chat, and nothing really too crazy happened. Some of them mentioned how they felt a little anxious getting on, and they weren't sure what would happen, but it seemed to be just hey, this is it, and everyone, even Cody and Robyn were on, and it doesn't seem like there was anything crazy going on during that.
Nah, I mean, they're going to have to continue to co-parent and co-grandparent, right? Mm-hmm. More than anything at this point, and so everyone's obviously feeling anxious, but I think they'll be able to figure out a lot of it, even though there are certain people who don't want to mix with other people, or Meri wasn't invited on this. So when Christine said, I let all of my adult children decide what mothers they want to have relationships, what people they want to have relationships with, like that's really, I think, how it's going to be moving forward. It's just kind of the kids are going to be closer to some people than other people, and whoever they decide to mix and mingle with seems to be okay with everyone, so right. Which is good. Meri. Speaking of Meri, a lot of episode 14 was Meri, so hate to like jump forward and backward at the same time, but she was kind of mixed into both of these. And it finally happened. We keep saying keep waiting for like what is the final straw for Meri to finally leave, to just have it be done. And leading up to it in episode 13, she's talking a lot about, she even said, when we got married, God was involved and it was for eternity. but what does this covenant mean? And has Cody already broken the covenant? So I know we've mentioned before in episodes, but quickly, when they're talking about these marital covenants within any type of Mormonism, we're taught that it's like a triangle, right? So you have the husband, the wife, and God, and that the marriage covenant, it takes all three pieces, like your promise to God, his promise to God, and your promise to each other. And so when she was mentioning that and she's saying, well, if Cody's already broken it down here, then the whole contract, the whole covenant is really null and void at that point.
Right.
So while she's sitting here so concerned about her covenant with God and her covenant with Cody, if he's not doing the same, then what does it matter anyway?
Yeah. And she even mentioned as well that if he doesn't love me, why do I want to spend eternity with him? Because that's really what it was all about in the beginning anyway, was that they could spend all eternity together.
Yeah.
And so you can see why it's all falling apart in her mind, because if he doesn't love her and he is putting on this act,
Yeah, as I was
this
saying, I
show,
can keep acting.
yeah, to pretend like he is being a husband to her, which if he's acting to be, if he's pretending and putting on this show and acting to be a husband to her, he is doing an awful job.
He's a terrible actor.
He's a terrible actor, because she never sees him, right?
No.
And he tells her straight up, I don't want anything romantic with you. So
we're like, if this is your job at acting like a good husband, then like you're a horrible actor.
Yeah. So anyway, it's very tough for Robyn, and for Robyn as well. We'll get into that later. It's very tough for Meri because, like I mentioned to Melissa when we were watching it, they were married for 20 some years before a lot of the really bad stuff. Well, I know they had some rough patches, but it seems like he was there as a husband for her for well over 20 years. Mm-hmm. So then to have it all just kind of fall apart, I can see that being very challenging.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so easy to look and judge, and we're seeing these snippets, and we're like, how could she stay? How could she stay? And Sam and I were talking about that as well. Like, lots of people stay in relationships, marriages, much longer than they should for a whole lot of reasons. So we can't really cast a whole lot of judgment off of the snippets we see. It seems so clear. But then there was even one point where Meri said she finally saw the episodes of the previous season where Cody says he doesn't consider himself married to her. And that was the first time that she had heard that out of Cody's mouth. And I thought, that's a horrible way to find out that your husband doesn't consider your marriage a marriage anymore, to see it on TV. Like, she's finding out because of his on-screen interview.
The stuff he says,
so sad.
The stuff he says in almost every get-together that they have is just... he is digging a hole deeper and deeper. For his case, he is just making it worse and worse.
Well, it's like he wants to keep acting like it's all Meri's fault, right? And even in their last conversation where they finally did decide, like, we can't do this anymore, he's like, well, if you can't do it, then I understand. If you don't want to do it, I don't want to force you. I can keep acting. I can keep pretending. I can continue on the way that we're doing. We're like, yeah, because you're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So, but he just wanted to like make it seem, he wanted to separate himself from the separation, if that makes sense, as much as humanly possible, to make it seem like he's not doing anything wrong. Like, she's leaving him. He's not leaving her. He'll stick around if that's what's necessary. And it's just infuriating because it's like, no.
Because he's living his, and he will even admit this, he's living his monogamous life over here with Robyn. And they're happy. They have their kids. They're doing their thing. And it's just not fair because they're not legally married. Well, him and Robyn are, but the other wives are not legally married to him. So he can literally just walk away and have no legal tie to them financially or otherwise,
which we'll get into.
Yeah, so it's so sad.
Yeah, it's super sad. And then obviously all of these women are having to deal with two aspects of separation, of leaving and divorce. The first one, Christine and Janelle, they go on a trip, and Christine was talking about the fact that, like, you know, if we were still part of the church, or, you know, Robyn, I guess, had confronted Christine about, like, oh, there needs to be a spiritual separation, a spiritual divorce, all this stuff. And Christine was like, I don't believe in any ecclesiastical leader at this point. And so I don't feel like I need that spiritual release. But she was saying that Robyn felt like that the covenant, see, within plural marriage, instead of it just being two, they do believe that all of those wives are covenanting together, right? Which is why it was such a big deal, like that the wives have to approve of the new wife, and it's a decision they make together. And so Robyn, I guess, had been telling Christine that she felt like it was messing with her eternal marriage for Christine to leave. And so Christine was asking Janelle as well, like, do you feel like I'm messing with your covenants?
Like your covenants are invalid now.
Are not valid anymore now that I'm not a part of this marriage. If I'm taking out a piece of the covenant, does the rest of it stay intact, or did I just like blow up everybody's marriages? And from the outside, normally, I mean, it's pretty clear even from the early seasons. It really seems like it's like Cody and Janelle and God over here. And it's like, to me, it seems so apparent that it's these separate four monogamous relationships. Like they're living in separate houses. I don't know. Very early on, it seems like they really want their own separate marriages from each other. With this cloak of, oh, I'm still a sister wife. I'm still living the principle. But I don't know. Did you ever think like, were the wives thinking that they each other were part of the covenant, or did they think that they were just sealed to that man?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a combined relationship. In the FLDS, the way I was raised, it was definitely one big family, much more so than the Brown family, just in the sense that we all lived together and did everything together. But that quickly became unknown what exactly that all meant when Warren Jeff started ripping families apart and taking one wife and putting this wife with another man and just doing all of this just immoral, crazy stuff that he was doing, and it's just awful. But at that point, I think that it was very clear to the FLDS people that we hope that we can all be together in this covenant, but apparently it can be ripped away from us in an instant.
Yeah, I'd say, like you said, it might have been that way in theory, but then in reality, Warren Jeffs was treating it like each individual.
Right.
And it seems the same with the sister wives. In theory, it's supposed to be all one big thing.
Exactly.
But the reality of it is, if each relationship has to stand on its own in some way.
Another aspect to this that I found interesting when Christine was talking to Janelle about, does this make your marriage feel less important or less valid if I can just walk away? And I realized that yes, that might actually make someone like Robyn feel that her marriage with Cody, this bond or these covenants they had made, aren't actually as important if one of the wives can just walk away with no consequences.
And that leads us into the second thing that, Janelle was kind of saying the same thing, that she doesn't want to break her covenant until she knows that God is cool with it. So she's basically just waiting for like a spiritual witness. Her and Christine share their stories of having that spiritual witness with entering into their covenants and their relationship with Cody. But as they were talking about leaving it, Janelle in particular, who's always been the financially savvy one, the one who is working all this stuff, she had talked about the fact, she goes, I think a lot of it would be a lot more even playing field if a man could legally marry multiple women. Because right now, a man can leave, or a woman can leave, and there is no type of actual, like, I don't want to say consequence, like it's a spiritual consequence, which is why all of them have stayed for so long, right?
Right.
But Janelle in particular was saying, like, if I leave, I don't get anything of Cody's, even though we've been married for how many years now and all this. She's like, I think they've been married over 25 years at this point. And she's like, I have no right to any of his estate, no child support, even though her kids are grown more.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that all of the children between Janelle and Christine, I know Christine still has a younger daughter, but most of them are getting older, and soon they'll be adults, and at that point he has no responsibility whatsoever legally to his children as soon as they all become adults.
Yeah.
And so he can just simply walk away and say, well, good luck, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and for Janelle, she's like, I have my name tied to everything with his, but because I'm not legally married, I have she doesn't have anything to call her own. She has nothing to be able to like separate herself, and there's nothing that she would be able to get for the 25. Normally if you're married for 25 years, alimony and being able to be financially supported in some way would happen, but for Janelle, it wouldn't. And so I thought that was a really interesting perspective of her saying legally, she's like, and you could tell there was an undertone for her, like maybe the man would step it up a little too, and would try to work harder on relationships. And basically she was saying that like polygamous men can kind of ghost their wives, or they can do what Cody did to Meri, right? well, I'll just basically ignore you until you go away, but I don't have any actual like legal responsibilities to you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were never, I mean, now that he's married to Robyn instead of Meri, but still, like, yeah, he has no legal responsibilities at all. And so he can just treat his wives like garbage or ignore them completely until they go away, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
it sure does seem like he found Robyn and just wanted a monogamous marriage at that point. That's what it sure seems like. And whether he drags people on for long periods of times, a long period of time, or he claims that he's trying to make things work, based on what we're seeing, it sure does not seem that way.
No, definitely not. But Janelle's even saying, like, I don't know how to get a divorce in my faith at this point. She's like, I don't even know what leaders I would go to try to get this covenant dissolved. I still am a woman of faith, so her trying to figure out what she's gonna do, even though she clearly doesn't want anything to do with Cody anymore. She even said, like, he hasn't been in my house like a husband like in 10 months. Cody is like, it seems like, again, Cody being the victim, of course. He keeps making it sound like he would try to solve things with Janelle if she wanted it. And he's like, if he had wanted it, we would have gone to counseling, we would have done something more. And at this point, she's just over it, which I clearly understand, but she's still definitely struggling with the spiritual aspect.
Yeah, well, and she's over it because of the way that he has treated her.
Yeah,
right?
for a long time. And her kids.
Right. She wanted, at least it seemed like, she really wanted to make it work, but he just wasn't there for her. He wasn't there for her kids. He just disappeared into this monogamous marriage over here with Robyn and her children. And so what do you expect? Like, I can't imagine, just because she's not willing to hang on as long as Meri did, does not make her the bad guy here, because she tried and he's not there for her.
Yes, and thank goodness. I mean, the end of episode 14 was basically Meri having that conversation and saying, like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to move to the Airbnb. I'm going to not renew my lease. I'm going to move on with my life, basically. And Robyn obviously being super upset about it, and which I know it was funny. Meri's like, it's not going to change our relationship. And I'm like, yeah, because she barely has one with Robyn. Like, I feel like Robyn kind of forgets about Meri, and then all of a sudden will be like, oh, let's have you over to see the kids. Mm-hmm. And again, we don't see most of it, so that's totally me just being judgy. But like, how much of a relationship was there to begin with, or if it's just phone calls or just texts, that might not change. But even Meri said, I have to get used to the idea of, like, how am I going to be friends with my ex-husband's monogamous wife?
I just want to know, what does Robyn expect? Like, what in the world is she thinking that she is still holding on to this marriage between Meri and Cody? Like, there is nothing going on there. I don't know what she expects them to work out or fix. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's been, they keep saying 7 years, but we know it's been a lot longer than that they've been not really compatible, not really together. And so even if it was only 7 years,
that's so long, guys.
But compared to what it actually is, even if it was 7 years, that they aren't being husband and wife, like, I'm just frustrated that Robyn is even trying to keep this thing together at this point between them.
Yeah.
Between Meri and Cody.
I'm very curious to see moving forward. Like, Robyn was this was the most at Cody, I think, that we've ever seen Robyn
on camera.
And we haven't seen a lot. We were only through season 4, and we try not to see as few spoilers as possible. But it was interesting to watch her be like, don't say anything. You're in the right mind. You're not this, you're not that. Like,
I think we saw a piece of Robyn that a lot of you have commented about, that maybe she has more control over Cody than we see. We saw a little glimpse of that when she just told him, hey, shut up. You're not in the right mindset here. You can't talk. Yeah. Basically is what she said. And we were like, oh, okay.
Oh, there she is.
But then again...
But he needed to be told.
Yes, he needed to be told that in that situation. But Cody definitely tries to make it seem like he's the one that makes all the decisions when he talks. I don't know. It's confusing to try to figure out what's going on.
Okay, but quick question for you.
Ooh.
Do you think that now that they're living monogamously, and it seems, or at least on the surface level, Robyn really is unhappy about the idea of being in a monogamous relationship because she wanted to live the plural law. Do you think that they are going to find another sister wife?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that it's possible. Based on a couple things that we have seen and heard, I don't know if this is just complete speculation here. I have no idea.
That's what I want, your speculation.
My speculation, you got it, all day long. I think that possibly when the other wives trickle away, that Robyn does ask him to possibly look for another wife, because that is what she signed up for. Now, I know it's confusing because it sure seems like Robyn came into the family and immediately wanted Cody for herself. That's sure what it seemed like, or, based on the way it all turned out. But everyone, including Robyn's children and Cody and the other sister wives, will admit that Robyn has always been trying to fight to keep the women all there.
I think it's a Cody thing. I think it's the Cody's preference for Robyn more than Robyn's. Well, again, not saying that being the favorite isn't nice. So I'm sure she played into that. I'm sure she asked things of him. So don't get me wrong. And we only see a tiny glimpse of it. But I don't care who it would have been. I think a fourth wife coming in when you have 6 kids in baggage with 3 other wives and you have a new fresh wife, you're going to be drawn to that. And there's no way to be able to not have that end up in disaster with the first 3 wives.
Yeah. I noticed that there's lying going on. Definitely some people lying here, because we have the car ride with Janelle and Christine, and they literally say the words, when Robyn came into the family, all of a sudden we stopped doing all of these different traditions. In the family, we stopped doing this on Friday night, we stopped doing that, and the other, everything changed. Literally, they say those words, it switches to Cody. Cody says, we never stopped anything. We never stopped anything.
She enhanced our traditions.
When she came, we added to it, but we never stopped anything.
Yeah.
You know what that makes me think is, so maybe there was a lot more going on at Robyn's house that Cody was involved in that made it seem like they had just as much going on and more, because now he's always with Robyn. But according to the other wives, no, she put an end. I don't know if it was her doing or if Cody just had no interest to be spending as much time with the other wives, but sounds like there were a lot of things that came to an end when Robyn joined.
Yeah, so
Unless,
how will Robyn handle if there is another it that comes in? Because she thinks she wants it. Just like Christine said. Christine had said clear back in the seasons before that she could never understand the jealousy when new wives would come in, and she's like, I'm not going to be like that. I would never be like that. I'm not the jealous type.
Right.
And then she was so jealous when Robyn came into the family, right? And she even admitted, she's like, I had no idea that I was even capable of being this jealous about another wife. And so, because she had been the last wife, right? So now Robyn's been the last wife for 10, 12 years. And now we're going to see possibly, I don't know, whether or not he goes for another wife.
You asked the question, you said, do you think that Robyn would leave Cody if all the other wives leave and there's no longer that polygamous marriage?
Yeah.
And my thought on that was, well, I don't think that she would, because she has seen since Cody came in that he is all about her. And because she's been getting all of his attention and loyalty, that's got to make her feel somewhat special, even though it's not what she technically was hoping for.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm not sure. All I know is in that interview we had recently reviewed an interview, and when they asked whether or not Cody would take on more wives, he said he's not allowed to give any spoiler alerts. So no matter which way it is, apparently it's a spoiler for next season. So
which may be a spoiler in the sense that he does try to or does end up doing it, or maybe it's just a spoiler because TLC is hoping to make people think that, right? So he can't say anything about it.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Coming back for more.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see how this all turns out. We know that at the very end of the season 18, episode 14 that we just watched, at the very end,
Meri's officially gone.
Hinted that Meri is out of here. Christine is now bringing her current person that she's dating, David, right?
I don't know his name.
I
Sorry.
believe it was David, is going to be showing him to the world. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things changing.
Yeah, and I think we have a couple more episodes before this season wraps up. So
Yeah.
if you want to hear more of what it was like for Sam to grow up in polygamy, or more of our reviews on Sister Wives, particularly the spiritual aspect and how that makes them do the things they do, then please like and subscribe.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here with us today. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Talk to y'all soon.